But I'm now going to introduce probably one of our other really important sessions on maintaining your sanity. We're really lucky to have two of the best mental health professionals in surrogacy with us today. Kim Bergman from Growing Generations you've already met. She's going to be on this talk. But Carol Lieber-Wilkins is probably the grandmama of surrogacy counselling in the US. She's seen it all. She's done a lot of screening and counselling of surrogates. Many people go to her with their surrogates to say, is this one going to pass? Is she not? And why? So she's one of the real experts in this area, so we're really lucky to have her. Welcome Kim and Carol up to the podium here. Looking forward to hearing from you both.
Hello. So we don't have a PowerPoint for this. We're just going to chat a little bit and then answer any questions that you have, because we really could talk about anything, all things psychological when it comes to surrogacy, but I'm going to focus on managing the relationship. You've heard many important tidbits on this today from many of the talks, the surrogates, the intended parents. So just a few things I want to stress. At the beginning, there needs to be some kind of match meeting. And most agencies will do this for you. If you're not working with an agency, find somebody, a mental health professional or somebody to do it for you. But the key in the match is discussing the relationship. There isn't a right or wrong way for it to go. As I mentioned earlier, some people become really close. Some people have a much more distant but respectful relationship. Most people are in between. And it doesn't matter. What really matters most is that everybody's on the same page, that people's expectations are similar. People ask me sometimes what are the pitfalls in surrogacy, or what's the worst thing I've dealt with, and typically it is the role that I sometimes play as what feels like marital counseling, where the intended parents are on one side and the surrogate and her husband are on the other side, and it's almost always just about a mismatch of expectations, and usually that's because somebody is promising something or declaring something at the beginning that isn't really who they are. So remember I said earlier in my talk that I would talk about this later, and what I said was it's like a job interview first date. You know, you do not want to go on a first date and with a persona of someone else and set up a whole bunch of expectations and marry that person if that's not the right person for you. So there's a lid for every pot in surrogacy as long as everybody's honest about what they want. Once you've established those expectations and the relationship has started to form, first of all, for those of you who've already had this kind of relationship, you will know that it's one of the weirdest relationships you'll ever have, because you are, engaging with an initially total stranger, and you're talking about the most intimate of things, like, body functions and private things with someone that you don't really know. So it's important to set proper expectations at the beginning and then allow it to evolve naturally and kind of play with it. It is a little bit of a dance. Are we talking too much? Are we not talking enough? Are we still on the same page? For those of you who will work with an agency like CSP or like Growing Generations or any of the other big agencies, you'll have a counselor, you'll have a psychologist or a mental health professional, you'll have a case specialist, you'll have sort of people helping to manage and moderate that relationship until it has its own wings. And sometimes they never have their own wings. Sometimes it needs some ongoing support. But the three sort of keys that I'll mention and then turn it over to Carol just in the interest of time, and then you can ask questions. Three most important things in the surrogacy relationship. I did mention them earlier, but they're worth repeating. Trust. Trust is a foundation, and it extends in all directions. So that means the intended parents trusting the surrogate, and in order to trust the surrogate, you have to trust the system that's in place, right? So you know that you're working with professionals or an agency that you trust, who have screened, who have managed, and once a surrogate is screened, then you're trusting that she should be a surrogate and therefore doesn't need to be micromanaged by you. Trusting the doctor that you've chosen, trusting the professionals that you've chosen. And the trust is not blind trust. It's a partnership, but it is the foundation. Communication is the second really, really important ingredient. It's not just, there's several aspects of communication. So one is being in communication. So as simple as, the etiquette of returning texts or phone calls, and of course with texts it's kind of a double-edged sword, because if you don't hear from your surrogate or she doesn't hear from you kind of instantly on text, something is wrong. So it's establishing, not only staying in communication, but establishing your guidelines for communication. Like, for example, as a surrogate, I work from 9 to 3, so I'm probably not going to return your calls, but nothing's wrong. Or as intended parents, we're going away for the weekend, so we're going to be out of communication, so you won't hear from us. So that's the meta communication. So being in communication, defining communication, and then also speaking to each other in a way that instills a sense of trust. One of the common calls I get from intended parents who are kind of freaking out is, they've maybe texted the surrogate at 6:30 at night, because they're on their way home from work, or they just got home, right? And they don't have kids, so 6:30, 7, right? And they text like, "How are you?" And the surrogate may text back like, "Stressed out," And then, but what's really happening in the surrogate's world is pasta water boiling over, 2 kids crying, 1 kid homework, kid just came in to remind the mom they need like 3 dozen cupcakes the next day, husband just called to say going to be half an hour late, like all that's happening. And the surrogate, because that's what we do, like when our mom texts us, "How are you?" we text stressed out. So it's like learning all of that, giving each other a lot of a wide berth as we get to know each other in that relationship, and also remembering how those kind of communications land. The most common freak out call I get from surrogates is something like the intended parents texted like, "What did you eat today?" And their surrogates like, "Don't they trust me?" I call the parents and they meant, "Did you have any weird cravings?" But it doesn't translate in the text. So communication is really, really important in this relationship. And the third ingredient is flexibility. You've heard this all day today. This is not a linear process. It is a long process with starts and stops and hurry up and waits, and everything planned perfectly for a Monday transfer, including travel and time off work and childcare, and an egg donor stimulating too fast or too slow, and a surrogate having to get on a plane a day early or 2 days late. Flexibility is really, really important. I always love when intended parents at the beginning of the journey email me their flight plans for the delivery, because they've planned it all out and they know exactly what day the baby's going to be born. It just doesn't happen that way. The good news about all of that is that it does train you really, really well to be a parent, because kind of all bets are off with parenthood in terms of predictability. So I'll stop there so Carol has a chance to talk, and then maybe we'll just do questions at the end.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. Congratulations. And I say that because any of you that have survived 7 hours of a surrogacy conference, I want you to know you can really do this. If you had any doubt at all, this is a lot of information. It's really intense. It's really scary. And so congratulations and thank you. It's nice to see you all here at the end. So what I'm going to talk to you about is how to survive this. It's a very long process. Today I heard estimates from 18 months to 2 years altogether. I'm going to focus primarily on the part sort of from the match or from the pregnancy part is, okay, now what? Because for most people, as we heard today, It's been a lot of waiting. It's waiting to get pregnant. It's waiting to do another IVF cycle. It's waiting to find the right agency. It's waiting for the match. And then it's waiting for something to finally work. And then it's waiting for the first heartbeat ultrasound. And then it's waiting for the next ultrasound, etc. So how do we survive the wait? And I have these as handouts if anybody wants to take them home and review them. But the first thing is, and somebody earlier said it, and I can't remember who it was. I think it was one of the surrogates. It might have been Emily, who said, this is your pregnancy. This is your gestation. This is you are expecting a child. So let's think about, what do people do when they're expecting a child? They prepare. They spend a lot of time together, that there is going to be very different time once a child arrives. Have a lot of fun together. Get in shape. Take yoga. Learn to meditate, because you're going to need it. As you can tell, this is not a linear process. It goes up and down. You're going to need some coping strategies. Gather all your best friends together and talk to them about what's happening in this process. Don't isolate yourself. Don't keep to yourself. Don't keep the process to yourself. Share it with other people and tell them what's easy, what's hard, what's exciting. You don't have to sugarcoat it. This is a really challenging process. Surround yourself with people who have some sophistication and can understand all of that. If you don't already have a therapist, know that there are mental health professionals who specialize in this field, like myself and my colleagues, who can really help you navigate this world, navigate the anxiety that you feel that because you have had nothing but disappointment for your entire trying to conceive time, that you now anticipate that. And that's pretty crazy making, even though it's incredibly normal. And that's how the brain works, is we anticipate whatever we've had. So find a good therapist to talk to where you don't have to teach them what surrogacy means. Prepare your will, or review the will that you already have. That's what people do when they become parents. Think about setting up a trust. Or just find the attorney that you might consult to do that. Take a baby moon. Go on a trip to the place that you know you're probably not going to go if, once you have a child and you're not going to want to travel to. Organize your closets. Organize your drawers. Clean out the office. And think about starting to get the room ready. It's not bad luck. I know there's some superstition about all of that, but it is the one thing you can do. You can't gestate this child. You can't eat healthy for it. You've got all the trust and all the relationship stuff over here that Kim has talked about and all our panelists have talked about. But the only thing you have control over is yourself, your environment, and the relationships that you're in. So use that to your advantage by having control over those other things. An organized home is an organized mind, right? And now you have time to do it. You're not going to have time to do it when your house suddenly becomes incredibly chaotic. Have sex. Have a lot of sex. Have sex in every room in the house. Have fun sex. Have recreative sex, because it's definitely not procreative sex. So throw away the idea that we're going to get pregnant, because you already might be pregnant with the help of a surrogate. So have a lot of sex that's going to last you for a little while when you don't have sex for a while. Prepare your pets for a child's arrival. I know that this is something that people do when they are pregnant in their home, and they start thinking about, oh my God, we're going to bring a baby home, and how's our dog going to handle it, and our cat. But you're not likely to think about that if you're not actually the one pregnant. So think about that. How's Fido going to feel when, there's now a baby or two in the baby swing, and they're, looking at this intruder? Get your teeth cleaned. Have a physical. These are things, trust me, you will not have time, and you will not want to. You will not want to line up the babysitter or think about how you're going to manage to do that once you become a parent. Take care of your own health. Find a pediatrician that you like. Ask all your friends for referrals. Ask your OB, ask your personal physician. Find a pediatrician that you like so that you don't find yourself in the last month or two of this pregnancy suddenly scrambling to do all the things that you need to do. You've waited a long time for this. So we want you to enjoy it. Go after your someday I will list. Maybe that's learning a new language. Maybe you always wanted to learn how to embroider. I know it sounds ridiculous, but when you start to spin out about what your surrogate ate today and whether she's stressed out or what's going on in her life, it's nice to have something to focus on that you can control and might be enjoyable. Certainly, if you already have children, you want to prepare the children that are already in your home for the arrival of a sibling. That might not be any easy feat. And there are lots of children's books that can assist you in doing that. Read parenting books. Take a parenting class. You know, just because you've been infertile for 43 years waiting for this moment doesn't mean you're going to be an expert in this. When a child comes, there's nothing like a child to make you feel totally inept, incompetent. And I always say there's nothing more judgmental than an infertile woman who thinks she knows everything. I know because I was one. So, and then I became a parent and went, oh man, did I not know anything. Line up your support team, particularly if you are a single person. Line up your support team. Did I mention line up your support team? Look at baby announcements, child announcements, and you know, play with the idea of what you'll send out and how you'll do that. Again, it's something you can control and it might be fun. You can address the envelopes. And then, you know, you're ready because when this kid comes home, you no longer have the time or the energy to do some of these things. Buy children's books about surrogacy and egg donation that you will ultimately read to this child. And in fact, I would say and recommend that you buy them and that you read them when your child comes home, no matter how old they are. Get in the practice of speaking to them about surrogacy and egg donation and create your family building story so that you're really comfortable with it. And a lot of the children's books that are available are very helpful in doing that. You can begin a life book for your child. Might start with your early journey. It certainly would include the surrogate and her family, and that's another creative outlet. While the child is being created, you're also having a creative outlet that ultimately will belong to this child. Certainly decorate your child's room, get that ready. You can also start educating grandparents and extended family member about appropriate, positive family building language. The surrogate is not the real mother, you're the real mother. If there's egg donation involved, you can also educate extended family about what that means. You're the real parent, but maybe there was a surrogate, maybe there was an egg donor involved, and it's very important that we surround ourselves by people who understand positive family building language so that our child grows up in an environment where they hear the positivity of it and not constantly bombarded with any inappropriate language. Keep a journal. Talk to your friends about the weight and the anxiety. And most importantly, whether it's your support system or whether it's a therapist, talk to everybody who is supportive to you in your life about this process, except the surrogate. The surrogate is not your support system any more than ultimately you should be the primary support system for the surrogate. We have mental health professionals for that. We have agencies for that. The surrogate doesn't really need to know about all your anxiety. As it has been said so many times today, this is about relationship building, but you're coming from very different places. So ensure that you have a place to take all that yuck and all that anxiety, because it does not belong to her, so that you can each have your own wonderful journey. So again, thank you for sticking around, and we're happy to take any questions. You're just
They just
want a drink.
Cocktail hour. Anybody?
That's it? Okay. If anybody wants a copy of this, I have it for you.